Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's Policy Manthan discussion. As you all know, the topic of today's Policy Manthan is going to be around the topic of curriculum and the teaching methodology adopted in Indian public schools. So we are going to be discussing that topic. So I request you all to please write down the topic that you would want to be talking about today in the chat box so that we can start off with the Policy Manthan discussion. And in the meanwhile, it is highly requested of everybody present in the meeting to please switch on their cameras so that way we can have an interactive discussion. I hope I'm audible to everybody else.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Excuse me, has everyone written the topics in the chat box? Can you quickly just write it there down?
All right, so we will begin off with our discussion. So first off, we have Pooja. Pooja is going to be talking about CM Rise School Scheme. So yes, Pooja, please go ahead. I think there's some Pooja.
Am I audible?
Yes, Pooja, you're audible. Please switch on your camera if it's possible.
It is not because my background.
Yeah,
I'm
that's all
using,
right.
so that's why. I just wanted to know what all things needs to be covered. Am I audible?
Yes, Pooja, please go ahead. Like with respect to the major aspects of the scheme that you might have come across, and the interesting points about the scheme. So please let us all know about the scheme.
Okay, wait. Can you just wait 2 minutes?
All right. So in the meanwhile, we have Pooja. She's trying to fix things at her end. So as we all know, like when we talk about the Indian public schools, like it is often said that a lot of teachers they're not properly trained or properly, trained in the way that students need to be taught because, like the needs of the students are different and there is no one way which can fit, the needs of the students as such. So therefore, it is very important to be focusing on, training of the teachers and also a focus has to be also on the curriculum aspect because there was an article that I read recently that was from somebody who has closely worked with the Teach for India program, and that person said that India's curriculum is in today's time preparing students for the for maybe 60 years back time, maybe around of like 1950s time or 1960s time, whereas the need of today's time are totally different. So that is why we are going to be talking about this topic. So moving forward, maybe we'll hear it from Aman. So yes, Aman, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So So recently, we've seen that there's a rise in conversation, be it on a state level or a national level, that education system needs to be revamped. Right, we need to focus on schools and we need to focus on curriculums, especially with the rise in that how the regional politics have changed with regards to Delhi. That recently, Aam Aadmi Party has extensively focused on the education system of the state, and it has risen as an electoral agenda recently. Now, with this is good, but this has the boundary has been enmeshed between what's politically relevant and what's actually relevant in education system. Because what we see that and what we've heard and also witnessed that in Indian education system is usually always lacking behind since time immemorial with regards to its qualitative standards as compared to our global counterparts. So, which has unequivocally resulted in poor quality of education. So, and the biggest reason I believe that is two things. There are two biggest reasons. One of them being the old age curriculum that stands obsolete, and the second one being the pedagogical methodology, which stands irrelevant to cater to the 21st century skills that we need to learn. So first thing first, that our curriculum has always been too idealistically practical. That it always aspires to focus on the practical outcomes of the quality of education while completely being obsolete. So which the state has also used as a justification to not introduce any progressive changes. So we can see that through the Delhi government's actions with regards to the introduction of Desh Bhakti curriculum and happiness curriculum. Though they are fine and good, but they should be in substance in supplement to what we actually need, like mental health curriculum or financial literacy. That's really important in the 21st century. Now, the other important thing is that we focus way too much on curriculum, and that curriculum is not what actually matters, like mental health, sex education, and the fundamentals of AI. We have focused on these matters like Desh Bhakti, and what we've also ignored is the aspect of teaching and the aspects of the recruitment of teachers. So even the new education policy, though it covers a lot of ground, it has extensively failed to talk about teaching methodology and the recruitment of teachers and how it's done. What are the basic educational qualifications are needed in order to assure that we'll have like quality teachers who will be imparting really qualitative knowledge. So even the recruitment aspects have just become a formality for a mere job. So which shows us that the training, education, and recruitment of teachers aren't as rigorous as it should be. So which is why we have below par quality of teaching methodologies, and which is basically because teachers are of bad quality. So this ignorance by state is primarily because of the nature of this job, which has just been reduced to filler employment. So that the teaching career is seen as a safe option for people in a safe government job, thus that the state provides and garners some sort of electoral sympathies from. So it's no longer a passionable profession or a noble, responsible career. It's just a job. So, right, so that's why we've seen that a lot of senior educators and teachers are found to be unaware about the basic things, basic subject matters that they are teaching. And so what we basically need going forward is that we need to revamp the curriculum by removing its obsolete tinges. So with the replacement of skills that are actually needed in the 21st century, like I've repeated so far, from financial literacy to mental health, and from sex education to fundamentals of AI, and not just basically Desh Bhakti curriculum. So what we also need, more importantly, is to incorporate advanced pedagogical methodologies and recruitment qualification for teachers within the new educational policy, and not treat it as a mere job that is sort of thrown around to attract voters and to attract people and to keep it as a safe option so that we can actually get qualitative teachers, which will ultimately result in qualitative pedagogical methodologies. So finally, we need to revamp. That's really important. The popular associations that we have with teaching as a career, so it becomes more socially and publicly desirable, like it has been for the past 5 decades in China and in Taiwan and in Finland, where these professions are respected. So when we have that kind of attitude within the administration and within the public, So we definitely will focus more on the curriculum aspect and also the teaching methodology, because we'll have a different outlook towards it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Aman, for highlighting the important aspects that need to be also included in the curriculum when we talk about curriculum per se, because the world is changing so quickly. We had open AI, which is just sort of revolutionizing a lot many things. Like they're building on GPT-4 version, and now subsequently there might be other versions as well. So like there are so many changes which are taking place. Like for example, there is climate change catastrophe. For example, we are slowly and steadily witnessing the effects of climate change. For example, in Delhi, it has never been like this in March, and it has been raining continuously almost for the past week in Delhi. And there have been other things also that needs to be taught to younger students so that they become better citizens, and then they take forward the legacy of this great nation forward and bring in better changes. As people talk about that, this is going to be India's century, not just India's decade. So we also need to educate our students, our children likewise, so that India can achieve great heights. So moving forward, we will hear it from Akanksha. Akanksha is going to be talking about the need to restructure the curriculum. So yes, Akanksha, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for having a discussion on such an important topic. The area which I'm going to talk about in this topic is about the need for restructure of the curriculum in the Indian education system. So as we all are aware of, first of all, we should know that education is placed under concurrent list. So in our constitution, we have three lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list, and education is placed under concurrent list. So it makes both the state as well as the center and state and center both have the responsibility of developing the national curriculum, as well as should take the responsibility of having a sustainable education system. Secondly, I would like to tell you that we did had education policies in the past, but currently we have a new education policy in place, which was drafted in 2020 and is also passed. So this year, the academic year from June onwards, we are going to have the implementation of new education policy, which has in fact the problems which we are going to discuss is already been taken care of in the new education policy to some extent. And I would just highlight some of the points which are important as well as new in the new education policy. The first thing which new education policy has taken care about is the early childhood education. So according to the right to education, that is which was amended in 2009, the education was universal education in India was stipulated between the year 6 to 14. And the earlier childhood years of children, they were not focused on so as to how the learning should be there. And we all know that scientifically from 0 to 5 years, the brain of a child is developed the most. So what about the previous or the early 6 years of the children education? And that is particularly being taken consideration in the right to educate, new education policy, wherein from when the child is of 3 years, they are going to be sent to Anganwadi. So basically, the early childhood problem is in fact solved in the new education policy. Secondly, I would like to bring about, first of all, I would like to share that Indian government has, or in fact, the state government has also put a lot of efforts on enrollment ratio. So we have Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Then we, also talked about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, then midday meal scheme. So these were the earlier efforts which were taken by our previous government, and which has also, shown the the impact in by increasing the enrollment ratio. But now we have in fact achieved the enrollment ratio to a particular point. Now the main focus should be on quality education and not on the quantity of the people or the students coming in. So this new education policy has in fact talked about the interdisciplinary approach. Like if I am interested in politics, and even if I'm an engineer, I do can have some curriculum wherein I could learn the Indian constitution in engineering as well. So interdisciplinary approach is being taken care in the new education policy. Again, new education policy is focusing on so many aspects that uh, it would be very difficult to implement these things. So secondly, what new education policy is also talking about is importance of regional language in teaching, and that I feel is the most important part when you are talking about learning, because when you are learning in your mother tongue, the concepts which you understand are in fact very clearly understood. So I feel that regional education or regional language importance is taken care in the new education policy. But again, uh, how it would be implemented is again a question mark. Then the next is, when you are implementing so many things in new education policy, the quality of the teacher should also be raised, and that would be done through teachers training, which is also a particular section in new education policy. But again, the enough funds, are there enough funds? And is everything whatever is been told in new education policy, is it going to be implemented, is again a question mark. And how it will be implemented, we'll see from 2023 onwards. So I hope that the sustainable development goal 4, which on the guidelines of which we have prepared our new education policy, I hope we justify it, and I would be very happy, because I am from a teaching field. So I would be very happy if these things get implemented. With this, I end my discussion. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Akansha. Next, Sakshi is going to talk about the importance of bringing change in teaching methodology adopted in school. Sakshi, can
Hi,
you go ahead?
I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go
Uh,
ahead.
so hi everyone. First I'll talk about the Indian education. As we know, India is among the traditional rich countries in terms of imparting knowledge and education with universities. Like one of the example is Nalanda, which is the oldest university system of education. The education system since then has evolved a lot in India. Like from Gurukul to modern schools to online colleges, there have been some massive changes in education system in India. So now let's talk about the present education system focused on what in the current education system, movement, constitution, publications, and other essential topic that are focusing, imparting student with knowledge of national identity as well as glorious history of country. And also, why teaching methods are the broader technique used to help students achieve learning outcomes, while activities are different way of implementing these methods. So, like teaching method, are helping students. Some of the examples of are masters the content of course, learn how to apply content in particular contents. So, basically, instructors should identify with teaching methods which will properly support a particular learning outcomes. Its effectiveness depends on the alignment. For example, the instructor should consider learning outcomes, students' needs, and learning environment. Like proper learning outcome, learning environment, and teaching method. So, for example, demonstrate alignment of what the instructor wants student to do and how they are supposed to in this task. If the instructor chooses a different teaching method, such as traditional lectures, student would not need to be process the lecture, or they won't be, they won't be understand the lectures. They would be difficult for them to, understand the subject as well. So choosing the appropriate teaching method brings the instructions to life while encouraging students to achieve, engage with content, and develop the knowledge and skills. So it is important to adapt the modern teaching lectures and techniques. So, talking about why is important exactly. So, the rate of literacy will be leveled up by providing education to most parts of society. However, with the time being changed to an extent, learners demand new techniques and methods to gain knowledge, which specializes them not only in theoretical study but ensure them to provide practical knowledge, sharpen their skills, and make them educated to face any kind of challenges. Not only that, but modern technique methods as are the one way to meet the requirement. Modern technique is a need of an hour because of this. It is relevance in the modern era. The revolution in the field of science and technology demands great idea and extensive efforts to deal with any kind of circumstances coming in the way of development. All the load is on the little shoulders of learner. So it is vital to give student not only knowledgeable but to improve their skills for their beginning. So it is very important to have a modern lectures and a modern technique for student to understand the lectures and subject very well. So I would like to conclude by saying that inclusion of modern technique method in this time is necessary as it opposes the idea of traditional forms also, and memorize the syllabus to educate students and to develop decision making skills, problem solving skill, and critical thinking ability. Modern technique are best suited for students nowadays because the new ways of teaching make students more productive and encourage them to collaborate. Both methods are effective, but which will be done during the time is a question, and clearly the importance of modern techniques can be felt clearly. So for a for a student, with studies in school, it is very important them to adapt the modern teaching technique, because for them to understand, like, it is important for them to understand the subject first and then know about everything, and that only starts when a student will learn about the subjects properly in the school, because the main education starts from the school itself. So yeah, that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. Next is Rutuja. Rutuja is going to compare and analyze the Indian education system with respect to other countries. Rutuja, are you ready?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
So Indian education system is considered to be one of the oldest education system in the world, and yet not the best. So in terms of structure of education system, India follows like 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern, which is indeed a long process, while the other countries follow 12 years of education system, where there is also earn and learn phenomena, which makes students financially stable and also provide them with knowledge of finance about financial knowledge. While Indian students are not aware about financial management, schools and colleges do not teach this subject as a curriculum unless you choose it after your 10th class. Then talking about the curriculum, Indian education system provides with a strong foundation of uh, uh, core subjects like math, science, languages, and it does not provide with the same level of emphasis on creative thinking, problem solving, soft skills, unlike the other education system in other countries. Further, the amount of focus given on extracurriculum activities, vocational training, practical skills do differ from in other countries. The primary education curriculum in India indeed focus on memorizing large amount of information to pass the exam, rather than focusing on critical thinking and analytical skills. This point has been criticism to Indian education system from a long period of time, as this approach does not support or does not prepare the students for the work skills. Also in India, the teaching method is more teacher centric approach, like teacher is a primary source of information and knowledge, while in other countries education is more of student centric. The methods such as inquiry based learning, group project, collaborative learning, debate and discussion are promoted more. Although in recent years, national education policy has emphasized a need for more holistic and interdisciplinary approach to the education. It has also provided a flexibility and choices in curriculum and assessment. Indian education system should focus on integrated practical and creativity in its curriculum, which would benefit the students personality and also which would help in work skills. So yeah.
Thank you, Rutuja. Thanks for bringing some major aspects in the regards of Indian education system with respect to other countries. Next is Palak. Palak is going to talk about the evolution of AI and Indian education system. So Palak, are you ready?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So
Please go
I
ahead.
have, yeah. Indian education system has always been vast and diverse, which contains curriculum of different states and centric. The Indian education system is based on two approaches, which is the curriculum based on center and as well as a state. And it always been a subject. It always been on academics approach. Like this curriculum is always based on the academic studies and a little mix of, or I can say major, not so major mix of extra curriculum, which is sometimes which lags behind the Indian education system to other countries as well as in the development of student. As we know that AI is one of the most advanced technology that we have been seeing since from few years, and it has been a very important part to accept it and developed it in our education system, as it gives us personalized learning experience. Student will attract more towards the learning and experience a different view about the subject and develop their interest in studying different subject as well as their aspects. And it indulge a algorithm curriculum in which the data contained by AI will foster their assessments and as well as their knowledge. They even experience several that sorry they even experienced a collaborating learning environment in the intellectual world as and focus on the real world applications, which give them a practical approach towards the worlds and the subject and their real world applications. AI has been become a very important aspect, and we should adapt in our education system because it will develop their critical thinking as well as their practical applications towards the subject and their needs, and it will help them to know problems in depth and provide the better solutions for the problems and provide the better solution and engaging in the problems as well as in the environment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Palak. Thanks for telling us how AI can be used to revolutionize Indian education system in particular. And next is Pooja. Pooja is going to talk about CM Rice School scheme. Pooja, are you ready?
Yes.
Please
Shall
go
I
ahead.
start?
Yeah, sure.
So
Please do.
everybody talked about Indian education system and the traditional method. Traditionally, we focused on Gurukul and environment study, skill-based learning. But as in when time passed, the education is should be on the need basis, right? It is a universal need of the whole world right now. It should be upgraded on daily basis, on the daily basis, for which the chief minister of Madhya Pradesh has established started a project of CM Rice School, which aims at improving the infrastructure of government schools. The aim is to establish more than 9,000 schools by the end of this project, which will be labeled as CM Rice schools, jahan par better infrastructure would be provided, installment of libraries in government schools, canteens, auditoriums, all the facilities that are provided to the private schools in with no fees actually, because it's a government funded school. It would the CM Rice school would be established in the radius of 15 to 20 kilometers, and those students who would not be able to who lives far from the school would be provided with the transport facility or bus facility for daily traveling purposes. And uh, and it uh, if it focuses on providing quality of education, providing holistic development of the student and the teachers. As everybody mentioned, for quality of education to be provided, teachers should be upgraded. It should have they should know the right kind of content that needs to be delivered on the spot. For that, the government of Madhya Pradesh has, partnered with a organization called Pupil, which is currently focusing on creating a curriculum and a training program for teachers itself, for their enhancement and the development, so that they can, easily adapt the technology, as we really saw how teachers were facing difficulties during the COVID situation, when they had to work with the technology. They were just not being able to use that. So, upgrading them, creating an environment, and creating a platform where teachers and both the students are, coming together and finding out solutions to it. I would like to conclude as if this is a very good initiative, and CM Rise School scheme can set an example for other states as well to take such kind of initiatives, because it will just not help to achieve the NEP, National Education Policy goal, but uh, education, if education of a country is good, is not good, it just not doubt the students' ability, but also doubts the system of the education. So I think it's a very good initiative that needs to be promoted. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Pooja. Next is Mukul. Mukul is going to talk about Finland's education system, and he's also going to comment on policies regarding curriculum development by the Indian government. So, Mukul, over to you.
Hello everyone. So as we know that Finland is sophisticated and good education system compared to other countries. So Finland has improved its curriculum reform in 2016 with the aim of transforming the education system. So I believe somebody had talked about collaborative approach. So that is what they are following. They are following a collaborative approach. In this type of learning, students are involved in the studies, and they are working in groups. This is also known as a phenomenon based learning, where they are benefited by approaching at a subject not like a subject at all, but they are taught to different approaches, whether it will be mathematical, scientific, or political, or so on. They will learn to work in team. They'll encourage that, which will encourage communication, problems solving in a constructive manner. Here they have discussion about technology, global warming, sustainable development, and they are not just preparing for exams, but it enhances them as well. So this is their education system does not focuses on a rat race kind of thing, which Indian education system emphasis on a lot of rote learning instead of understanding and giving different approach to studies. It is not there. It is the homework they are provided is not a mean of punishment, or kind of they have to do it. It is like not mugging up the syllabus or something. The students are interestingly doing it because the project is given them to in a very interesting manner, which will help them to solve which will help them to develop problem solving approach by dedicating to practical approach. So the question is that how can we practically learn from Finland education so that we can encourage in our education system collaborative learning, phenomenal learning. So, as experts believe that this is not one day's work. We need to systematically change things in India if you want to achieve these results. So, apart from that, if you talk about this transforming learning, there are some interesting facts that I would to tell you about Finland's education system. That is that the children in Finland do not start schooling until age of 7. Their education charity begins at home. They seems to finish for initial few years. There are no grading system for students. So the specific focus is there on learning. They don't have a concept of topper or failure, and the students are invited to learn after that on school premises. So there, as well as they will focus on that student and teachers collaboration, or the relationship between them is very feasible. As if you see this specific situation in India, in government school or in different school, it is like students are mostly, some students are as afraid to teacher, are afraid by teachers, or they seem intimidating to them. So there is no that connection. But there in Finland, it is different for them because they are allowed to call them by teachers by their name. So they are focusing on the relationship between teachers and students, so that their student will be open to learning as well, questioning as well, so that develop their curiosity around education. So apart from that, I want to comment about the collaboration, the policy changes that India is trying to bring in. It's not like India is not is lagging behind. India is doing some few things to do improve its curriculum framework. Like if you talk about national education policy, they are bringing national curriculum framework, which is established in 2020. Apart from that, they have national curriculum framework for teachers, national curriculum framework for adult education, which is really an if you go to their website in NCF NCRT, you will find that they have a comprehensive list of how to develop this curriculum by going to state level, district level. They are going to prepare a list. By the state has to improve its education system. They have to get permission for that from the Ministry of Education to approve that. So there are some these frameworks which is they were going to develop by education system, as well as somebody talked about CM Rise. So every state has its some positive points who are going to develop it. Like in Gujarat, they are doing Vikas Samaj Vikas Samikshan Kendra. So which is really about monitoring the education system, teachers. So I believe that it is a very good initiative because it keeps check on teacher and student as well in more enrollment issue. So there are these few things that that this Indian government is trying to do and bringing up. Yes, I believe that maybe it is difficult about the if you're talking about the financial issue or the funding, it may become difficult. But they are bringing nice policies to enhance our education system. So I'll conclude with that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mukul, and thank you so much, everybody, for bringing in some important points with respect to the curriculum and teachers training. And I think we have Archa. Archa is going to be talking about Indian educational system with respect to need for reforms in syllabus and learning. So yes, Archa, please go ahead.
Right. So I guess everybody has covered a lot of topics. So we know that Indian education system is very criticized for being very outdated, and there is a lot of rote learning. There's a lot of memorization, a lot of mugging up, and this leads to a very lack of creativity, a lack of critical thinking or problem solving skills. And if we look at the case of, so like everyone said, most of you mentioned, if you look at the case of countries like Finland, which has a very more focus on a very modern take on learning of giving more research oriented learning, especially countries like USA. And also we can also look at the case of countries like Singapore, which is very concentrated on innovative learning. That is, it's a learning for the future. So there students get to learn coding, robotics. Even these classes are integrated in their school education system. So there's more focus on mathematics, more focus on science and language as well. So preparing students for a career oriented learning. And if we look, okay, all of these are very developed countries, but we can also look at the case of countries like Cuba, which is also focusing more about emphasis on social justice or equality, as the education system there is free, and there's more emphasis on vocational training and involvement, community involvement. And we all know, so the syllabus in India education system, I personally feel is very outdated. And I feel that there is, especially personally, I am of the opinion that there is a need for financial education. So kids don't know anything about, they know about languages, they know about science, they know about what happens in this year, that year, but they know nothing about money, how to handle money. That's the most important skill as youngsters coming out of schools need. So money management, economic management, how to financial management. So that should not be just a course for BBA or commerce students. So I feel that is, financial literacy is one of the main essential topics that should be incorporated in school education. So as a society, I feel more than teaching kids, or education system should be not more than learning about facts or information, because that is available in Google, everywhere, that all is available. We should learn how to think, how to use, how to ask questions, how to critically learn and understand. And yeah, that I feel there should be need for that. So that's all.
Thank you so much, Archa, for highlighting the importance of financial education, financial literacy for younger children. And now moving forward, I think almost all the speakers have spoken about different aspects of the need for curriculum revamp, and also a bit about teacher training. And somebody talked about the scheme. I guess it was Pooja who talked about the scheme, CM Rise scheme, and Mukul did also mention about the scheme which is being run in Gujarat. So yeah, we have heard multiple perspective. Now moving forward, maybe I guess it's a nice time to call out people who have not yet participated in today's discussion. So maybe I will begin with Priya. Priya, could you please put in some interesting inputs that you feel with respect to the topic, or maybe you could just share some of your observation that you feel. I hope, Priya, you are able to listen to me. All right, moving forward, maybe we'll hear it from Bhavya.
Hello.
Yes,
Am I
Bhavya.
audible?
Yes, Bhavya.
Okay. All right. Um, uh, so I have like almost had sort of like kind of exposure with working, not directly, but indirectly in terms of like working with teachers and in the education sector. And I remember one of my visits to like it was a research-based visit, and we went to a nearby village location wherein we were checking the status of what's the education like in those areas, and what is the status and how the kids are learning there and all of that. With respect to today's topic, about is there a need for the curriculum to change? I mean, definitely, because in today's day and age, as we can see, like with competition just rising, and everywhere there is a pedestal that has been established, and everyone is there sort of judging like what kind of education that you have. So in that case, the people who have attended these education, who are not like capable, or who do not have much resources to sadly attend education which is good enough for them, so they have to resort to government schools, and um, sadly enough the education is still not up to the mark. And if we see it in terms of what kind of the quality of the education that the kids are receiving there, it is also not up to the mark. With respect to today's day and age and the way things are moving forward, with a lot many topics, with a lot many new innovations that are coming in, there's also a huge gap that can be observed in that as well. So, like with respect to like one of the people mentioned about the sustainable development and how it needs to be assigned in the curriculum as well, that people need to realize it should be a part of the education as well, that we need to put it in the curriculum, that what sustainable development goals are, how are these things going to be achieved, and so on, so that in the longer run it's like engraved in the mind of each and every person, and it's not just something that we have to uh, you know spread awareness for and put it out there, but it is something that people learn along the way, and it is engraved as a part of a basic principle education that one needs to know. And apart from that, like the quality of the teaching methods, even the teachers that are there, who are assigned for that particular school, or who are there responsible for teaching, they are themselves not very up to the mark. Of course, there's a um, like big debate about like the pay of the teachers as well, like the resources that they are getting. Like even if you see the condition of the classrooms as well, there are not no proper chairs and everything. So again, that is a different matter. But with respect to that, there needs to be improvement in that as well. And slowly and steadily, yes, we are moving on like that path, and we with like new education policy and everything going on, we are attaining that. But we have to at the same time agree that there are like a lot many challenges. Then like in theory, it should work, but when we see in like a more practical approach, there are a lot many things that needs to be like very minutely, and it needs to be very detailed in what and what should not be done.
Uh, Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much. So next we'll call Sri Lakshmi. Sri Lakshmi, are you ready?
Yeah, so I because most part
Sri
of
Lakshmi, I'm
the
sorry to interrupt, but could you please turn on your camera, if you please?
yeah, sure.
That is, yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I hope I'm audible and visible. Yeah, so I was saying that most part of the curriculum and like issues related to the curriculum is covered. One thing which I can add on to, which is something that a lot of people talked about, is also like the lack of inclusivity in the curriculum, right? In India, like especially a drawback that we face, even with NEP and with introduction to a lot of like regional based curriculum and languages being introduced, large part of the curriculum remains majoritarian, right? I'm a history student, I pursue history as well. So the kind of history that we study at this point in time is not that inclusive towards a lot of historical events that has happened across our country. This pertains to a lot of other subjects, right? Because large part of minorities in India who study the curriculum that's being provided in most of the public universities or schools kind of not relate to it, or kind of feel like missed out in where curriculum is concerned. Because and we also see that another issue, like me as a DU student, I experience a lot of parts of my chapters, a lot of like units in syllabuses being removed lately, just because like those parts upset few systems of establishments and everything, right? So why this happens in the present status quo, and I'll not be elaborating too much or like being very specific on things, but again, this is just because it caters to the majoritarian narrative of this patriotic nature in which our curriculum is structured currently, right? What this does in India, specifically with a lot of like multicultural identities existing together, is just exclusion, which leads to not only like cultural based or religious based exclusion, it is also very regional. Because even like South Indian regions or not, or students from northeast of India face a lot of like lack of representation in history and lack of representation in most part of like humanities studies. Now, I can't speak for science studies, but I can speak for my discipline for sure. More than that, inclusivity also in terms of like teaching methods, like mostly teaching methods. Again, we've discussed about curriculum is also reflected in way how it's taught, right? During teaching methods also, people are teachers who teach psychology not necessarily behave or do not have the aspect of empathy that we learn in psychology, right? So teachers also or don't work accordingly to what they're teaching or to the syllabus that they're teaching. Most of the time, even psychology teachers fail to understand or being empathetic towards why a child is not able to turn up to their classes, right? So in India, teaching methods need to be revolutionized in many aspects, not only in terms of inclusivity, but also in terms of sensitization of teaching and how a teacher is supposed to behave to a student. And again, we've talked about more student-centric approaches, how it's supposed to turn into something that's a collaborative effort rather than this guru shiksha thing that's been like kind of fed to us since the very beginning, right? This is not supposed to be that power hierarchies that exist in classrooms need to be broken down. Again, like the whole curriculum and teaching methods in India needs to be revolutionized in future, and the issues of lack of inclusivity and removing minority narratives should be done away with where India is concerned.
All right. Thank you so much, Lakshmi, for highlighting and for talking about the aspect which often go missed about while we talk about in the main discourse about curriculum and teaching aspect. Like even me, I'm from a history background, so I've also come across multiple things like the frequent change of the history syllabus per se. Mainly people in power, they try to tamper on with history syllabus, and also the underrepresentation of different sections of the society who have had a great contribution. So all these things also need to be spoken about for a better discussion and better understanding of different things. And now moving forward, I guess we will hear it from Malika. So yes, Malika, please go ahead. All right, moving forward, maybe we'll hear it from Arshpreet now. All right, we have Riddhi. Riddhi wants to speak in. So yes, Riddhi, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. It was a very informative discussion with everyone pouring in their views about schooling. So I have a small section to talk about, and that is with respect to burden of the curriculum nowadays and how people are also taking up homeschooling. So recently, in the last couple of years and before, like few years ago, so people have started adopting homeschooling their children. Reason being that a lot of burden is put on them with respect to curriculum, and because of the additional changes that the curriculum is going through since NEP's establishment, and also before that, because it has become very competitive and examination based competition where the focus of learning has somewhat also shifted. So now the parents have started homeschooling, and it is also recognized by certain state governments like Maharashtra and Karnataka, who have authorized uh, homeschooling because, and as it does not violate the right to education. And recently a study was conducted. So around 2,000 households were found out where students are being homeschooled according to the Indian Association of Homeschoolers. So I think this is also an aspect that we should start looking into it when we talk about curriculum and teaching methods and how standards will be set within homeschooling, because because of homeschooling, we can understand that it's a very privileged background people who can afford homeschooling. So whether the standards of education are being met or not, and whether they fulfill the criteria of the curriculum and curriculum that is being set for other school children. So I think there should be some sort of regulatory body, or it should also come under UGC for looking at how homeschoolers are performing and how what is the curriculum they're being taught, or how it can be regulated, or this is a specific kind of curriculum they should be teach, because the teaching is in the hands of their parents or their immediate guardians or whoever they hire to teach. Because nowadays the focus has also shifted a little on learning through online courses and learning through online matter that is available. So these bodies also need to come under regulation. Like people have started learning on the different edtech platforms, Scalar and an academy, Byju's, whatnot. So this has this is also like put burden on the government to monitor how curriculum will look like and what is important, what is not important, because these unregulated bodies or these new edtechs or these new types of teaching methods have bring a lot more diversification than the old school teaching. So I think these are also some aspects that we should start thinking about. That's what I want. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Riddhi. Next, Arshpreet. Arshpreet, can you add on something to the discussion and switch your camera on, please? Arshpreet.
All right, moving forward, we will hear from Jessica. Maybe yes, Jessica.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So I would like to add a few points regarding certain challenges or drawbacks to the new education policy. So I can elaboratively talk about certain some 4 points, you can say. So first is lack of adequate consultation. So the policy was developed without adequate consultation with all the stakeholders, the parents, students, teachers. The lack of consultation has led to concerns about the practical implementation of the policy and its impact on the education system. Second can be emphasis on privatization. So the policy emphasizes the role of private players in the education system or the education sector, which may lead to the commercialization of education. This may lead to unequal access to education and a widening gap between the rich and the poor. So the third point is overemphasis on standardized testing. So the policy, it in the long run, they are thinking, they are implementing not to emphasize on rote learning and not to burden the students. But the policy puts an excessive emphasis on standardized testing and assessments, which may lead to a culture of rote learning and discourage, up to some extent, critical thinking and creativity. It may. So it may also lead to teaching to the test and a narrow focus on exam oriented testing or learning rather. And the fourth point I would like to say is inadequate funding. Of course, the policy does not provide for adequate funding for the implementations of its proposal. This may make it difficult for schools and universities to adopt the proposed changes, leading to unequal access to education and widening gap again between the rich and the poor. So that's all I would like to add to the discussion. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, Jessica. Now we have Nikita. Nikita wants to add in some points. So yes, Nikita, please go forward.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Nikita.
Yes, Nikita. So I would like to add like some of the changes that are needed in the Indian education system. So I think one of the main change that is needing is the evaluation system. As we know, marks still continue to play the most important card in declining the future of children, and this often comes down upon student as a burdening factor. So the pressure of marks often makes students underperform. Instead of focusing the evaluation on a 3-hour exam, we should focus the evaluation should be on the classroom participation by the students, projects, communication, and the leadership skills. Only then I think the students will give their best and be evaluated at their best. And the second thing I think is equal respect should be given to all the subjects. We continue to survive in the education system where science stream topples the stream hierarchy. Students are pushed to become a machine which only goes for high profile subjects, and subjects like languages, communication, arts are looked down and are not considered high profile. Students should rather be pushed to pursue the subject that they like instead of creating a differentiation between subjects. Third is the better training of educators. As we know, teacher play the most important role in schools. Teachers should be given the best of class training. Who are shaping the future of the nation, the children. And teachers are often considered as second parent, thus they should be imparted their training in a way that they can act as parent to the children away from their homes. While teaching, they should also create a home-like atmosphere where student can feel the empathy and love in the classroom and which can then be reflected in their behavior. Thank you.
I guess there's some network issue at Nikita's end. So maybe since we're close to the time, so maybe like if somebody has some interesting observations to add in, like people who've not spoken yet. All right. So maybe like people who've not spoken yet.
I have a small point to make.
Yes, Shritata.
This is regard to the new policy and the new curriculum. Everybody said that we need to update the curriculum and there is a lack of representation and all that. But I have my first internship was with an NGO where I had to visit a coaching center which was primarily for slum children, and the NGO workers were responsible for teaching them and to inspire them to pursue education even after passing class 12. I went to the center to conduct primary surveys, and I have observed that they lack basic amenities, like for water they had to travel. There was no water resources, and even it was a poorly ventilated classroom, like no windows, and during rainy season and the floor was very muddy and cold, and there was a like the toned up toned up what do we call it, the thing we sit on the floor. It was all toned up, the children were not it was a cramped up classroom. So yeah, we can say that even if the curriculum improves, we need to improve that education facilities. Like if that is not provided very efficiently, how can student be expected to learn? Because everything is going like, they are children, they are not used to like compromising, they are not used to adaptability, and that is all.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachita. Now, if there's anybody else who would want to add in or contribute to the discussion. So,
Yeah, hello.
Yes, Rishita.
Yeah, so basically, I just wanted to add a point. So basically, there was an initiative taken by the Delhi government in 2018. It was introduced as the happiness curriculum, which was for estimated for around 10 lakh students. And recently, now after everything that the pandemic has severely and adversely affected our mental and emotional well-being, and children are obviously no exception to this. While the reopening of schools have restored some normalcy, the pressures of online mode of learning in the past 2 years have left these young minds very stressed and fatigued. So, as a result, a happiness curriculum is right now a very in need of the hour. It should be, it is not, it should be brought to the focus on certain key areas of life, such as dealing with failures and taking charge of one's own emotion and maintaining a balance in a life. And the State Council of Educational Research and Training, which is under the Delhi government, has taken this initiative under the presence of Dalai Lama himself. So the curriculum focuses basically on the mental health and well-being and for fostering confidence among the children. It includes mindfulness sessions that are divided into various activities, and it has been a very good success among the schools. And the objective are self-awareness, critical thinking, and helping the children apply all these life skills to deal with the stress. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rishita. Lastly, if anybody else would like to add in something else, so you are free to add in. All right then. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in today's Policy Manthan discussion. It was really nice listening to diverse perspectives and diverse inputs that you all had, for the discussion. So that was really appreciated, and we look forward to more of your participation.